Are you feeling small? Are you feeling lame? Got no words at all to name your pain. Full of stress, your life's a flame. It's all a mess, going insane. And something's wrong in your domain. Don't know where you're going, where you came. You need a little something to help your brain. Are you shaking your head? It's all a shame. Do you sleep at night? Stay up late? You got a headache? Are you feeling drained? Everybody needs a little help someday. Hear me say it's time for Untamed.
I wrote notes this time.
Are you feeling small? Are you feeling lame? Got no words at all to name your pain. Full of stress, your life's a flame. It's all a mess, going insane. And something's wrong in your domain. Don't know where you're going, where you came. You need a little something to help your brain. Are you shaking your head? It's all a shame. Do you sleep at night? Stay up late? Got a headache? Are you feeling drained? Everybody needs a little help someday. Just hear me say it's time for Untamed.
Hey, everybody. I'm back with Deana, and we're here with Brandy Joy this week, and we're super excited to have her on. So I met her at a retreat in Daytona Beach in October, which was amazing. So welcome, Brandy.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I'm Brandy.
Thank
I'm
you.
a love and sex astrologer and tantrika.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some really awesome stuff tonight. So we're going to talk about Tantra. We're going to talk about probably some astrology will be in there, and then sex magic. So something that I definitely wanted to talk about, you know, demystify some of the things that maybe are out there, you know, talk about what the practice really means, you know, what does it mean to do Tantra Yoga, what are the differences, and so we're going to get into all that. But first, we want to thank our sponsors. So we're going to start
Thank
with...
you, ladies.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you so much from the community support. So Nama Let It Go. They are doing a bunch of stuff up there. Check out the calendar. I know she's off a little bit during the holidays, but she's picking back up in January. So on the 13th and the 26th, she's doing a Nama Be All Right event, and it's actually a vision collage with aerial movement. So there's 2 dates for that, and I know it's very limited capacity. So it's paint. I'm just making a
With
vision
Ange
board.
DeCarlis,
Yes,
right?
Ange DeCarlis is
From B
doing
period.
Order.
What else? She's on the Mind Body app. So anything you want to register for, go through Mind Body, and you can see the calendar out as far as she goes. But yeah, she's got tons of stuff in January planned. So
She's got the
that will
yoga
be fun.
massage
Yes.
with Trina. So we're having Trina on too as a guest in the near future. But Trina, she's going to do restorative plus body work, and that's on the 20th. And then on the 28th, I'm doing an Elevate and Resonate gong immersion with the aerial silks. So definitely sign up for that early. I know her last sound healing event
Last
sold
night.
out. So yeah, sign up for that
went
quick.
awesome. They want to reschedule that.
Yeah.
She mentioned maybe gong and massage up there.
Yeah.
So that would be fun.
Yeah, so we have a lot of collaborative events coming up. So
That's
that's cool.
happening at NAMA.
Yeah.
Then there's Renovation Aesthetics and Wellness. She's doing like a 12 days of Christmas. So every day there's a special. I try to post them in the group when I get on in the morning and see what she's got going on for the day. So don't miss out. Today was like photo facial. Yeah. But this will air after Christmas, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, that's all right.
That's all right.
No, this will air the day after Christmas, actually. I forgot to.
Yeah.
So that's, so we can't really talk about all that. But Fit Body Boot Camp, Deana and I haven't been up there. Some people in my family have been a little under the weather. I'm personally okay, but I just felt like I was going to kind of like just lay low. 5:15 workout maybe wasn't the right call for me and my energy levels this week. So we haven't been up there, but I know she's doing a whole bunch of stuff too. I didn't realize she has a lot of merchandise too. So I was checking out.
And we noticed when we were there that they do virtual training too.
Right.
So if you don't want to come into the facility, you can get on and we can see you and you can see us, and you're just doing the, your version of the boot camp right there at home. Yeah. So that's awesome too. Like, most of the time I have my daughter in the morning. That's why I can't go, but I guess I could still do it that way.
Yeah, and she posts the workout in the group too, so that's really
okay,
cool. So every morning in that Fit Body Bootcamp family Facebook group, I love it. It's so inspirational. Like everybody gives their personal, like transformation stories. Maybe if they're having a hard day with their like eating habits, whatever. So there's like a lot of community support there. It's really on point. Seriously,
they're great.
Yeah,
all the people.
So Deana and I are also doing an event on January 1st. It's a New Year's Eve or New Year's Day celebration. So we have dancing, fire ritual, intention setting. Oh, we're going to be serving kava.
Kava.
Actually. So we're going to go with some ceremonial grade kava. We've made it before. I've had kava at a kava bar down in Ithaca, which is really cool if you haven't checked it out. And so, yeah, so check that out. That's at Roots. We also have Gong and Gather on the 5th and the 29th of January. So that's a Friday night revive. If you want to maybe change up your Friday night habits and you want to try something different, try sound healing. That's what we're doing on the 1st and the 29th.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. Anything else event-wise we want to talk about before we dive right in with Brandy here?
I think that's covering it for now. Carrie's got her women's circles, one virtual, one live every month.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, and we're always posting. And like we said before, please make sure, if you have an event coming up, I try to share other people's events too, just randomly. So if you have events and you want them to be, highlighted in our Facebook group, or you're interested in coming on as a guest, just reach out to us. We have a lot of guests already lined up for the next 3 or 4 episodes, actually. But, for the next set of episodes, if you're curious and you want to come on, or if you're interested, please reach out. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff. This is awesome. So, we did have a couple little, Brandy's an astrologer, and she also she's a tantrika, and she was one of the facilitators at the retreat that I went on down in Daytona with Kai Pacha. So Kai Pacha is, an astrologer as well, and they partnered together and they did an awesome retreat. We talked about it a little bit, Pluto, Scorpio, and the 8th house. So, any familiarity you have with astrology, that was some deep work that we did that week. And I mean, you just did an amazing job, Brandy, facilitating that and all of the content. So I wanted to have you on. I've been telling Deana, obviously, about all the stuff we did while we were there. So do you want to just give people a little introduction about yourself, and then we'll dive into the dynamics of Tantra Yoga and the magic, sex magic?
Sure. So Pluto, Scorpio in the 8th house, that was all about what we call the Scorpio archetype that week when we had our retreat. We decided, because there was a lot of aspects going on that were related to those archetypes that week, we decided to do our retreat on it. And we blended Tantra, which is very much Scorpio energy. Scorpio is about death and rebirth. Scorpio is about really connecting with yourself, your high self, and connecting with your sexual energy and transforming yourself through Kundalini work, like raising your vibration, right? Mm-hmm. And we just thought it was like really appropriate to kind of blend Tantra with this whole idea of like learning about Scorpio energy and learning about your own, chart in terms of your sexuality and your connection to other people and your connection to yourself. So that was a lot of fun. A little bit more about me. Let's see. I've been studying astrology for well over 2 decades now. It's been about 25 years. Unbelievable. And I've been practicing astrology. Yeah, right.
It's all that energy work she does. I know.
So yeah, I started really practicing astrology and tarot reading professionally. I think that was about 2008, I think it was. So that was 15 years ago. And I got into Tantra after I started practicing magic in 2012. I started practicing some rituals to kind of see what that was like, if that was really anything. My background's martial arts and dance. So for me, it was like, oh, okay, we're just going to do a martial arts like form, right?
Yeah.
And so I started doing it, and I found out that they were blending tantric yoga along with qigong exercises, just a bunch of energy work, and using your body. And that gets you into like these trance states, where then when you get into a trance state, it helps you to release energy, release like stuck emotions and things like that. And it changes you from the inside out. It also, you learn how to still your mind through that. And you start changing your hormones, like all of a sudden your serotonin, your dopamine, all of those things start getting like increased.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oxytocin, which is our bonding hormone with other people. Our compassion, our feelings of compassion, a lot of them come from oxytocin. And you start shrinking certain parts of your brain, like the amygdala. And the amygdala is like the fear alarm. And the fear alarm is the thing that makes us anxious all the time, where we're reactive and things. And so you start shrinking that fear alarm in your brain. And so all of these things started happening to me where I was feeling better, my mood changed. I was also having just immediate experiences where people were treating me differently. It was really wild, how much everything changed so fast when I started practicing. So I wanted to learn more about what this magic stuff was that I was doing, all these rituals and stuff. And so I started studying, and then I realized, oh, they're doing tantric yoga primarily.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing they're using the kundalini energy, and they're opening the chakras, right? I was always looking into like, what is the chakra, and like learning how to like open them and do energy work and Reiki and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it all started making sense, because really it just comes down to the oldest practices out there, which are, tantric yoga and things that, and a lot of people that do this stuff, they do magic and they do these, chakra exercise. They don't realize that it's all coming from tantric yoga.
Right.
That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it. And then I realized, oh, it can also do things for you sexually. It can help you to have full body orgasms, increase your sexual desire. All of a sudden you want sex all the time, or you start having orgasms like crazy when you start practicing tantric yoga, because it actually, you're messing with the muscles and the body, but you're also messing with the hormones and stuff
And the
like that as
energy,
well.
just pulling, the drawing of the energy, and then using the breath. I mean, that's just so powerful. Like, I didn't really know, I had started with Kundalini yoga, and then I started to realize that like during those practices, like I was like, being stimulated, and I was having these like feelings, and it was just kind of like naturally occurring because I was reading books and understanding like different dynamics and practices. And then it all started to meld together. And then luckily I found, the retreat. Because I mean, as soon as I saw Tantra, I was like, I want to go. Obviously, Kai Pach is great too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's like a mini celebrity to me, now he's like my bestie, but like whatever, before it wasn't, and then, but yeah, no, it's just such a powerful practice too. I mean, it's not complicated either. I mean, that's the thing, like, I think is maybe one of the misconceptions is that it's like very complicated and you have to do all these things in a row, but it's really natural and organic. As you start to get in touch with your body and start to, feel these feelings and have these like bliss energies, I was like, I don't understand what's a, bliss energy. I mean, I had Kundalini awakening, but I didn't know what that meant until I started to blend the pleasure into my spiritual practices, and like having these full body, like I'm not, necessarily orgasming, but I'm having like these full, just like feelings, happening in
Like
my
a
body.
euphoria?
Yeah, euphoria. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Sign me up.
Yeah, right? So, okay, why don't you just start with explaining what Tantra Yoga is and like, how it differs from other forms? Because, Kundalini Yoga, I started to realize like, okay, that was sexual energy.
Yeah, so
like, I
what's
mean,
the
they never
difference?
mentioned that one time in like teacher training, I mean, kind of. They might have touched on it a little bit, but I mean, the grinding and the moving and the, the back and forth and all of that, I mean, it's basically like thrusting motions. I mean, and then you start to read about like some of these like other types of practices that are like these somatic practices that are like some of those natural motions that you're just making with your body that feel so good, especially as a woman, like, just getting those hips like wide and like, opening up, your sacral, basically. So back to my question, Tantra Yoga, like what is it and like how do you feel it differs from other types of yoga?
So tantric yoga is, I believe, this is my theory. I probably don't know enough of the history, but Kundalini is a newer form from my understanding. And to me, it seems like it's just based off of Tantra and maybe some other things. And I think somebody, I can't remember his name, had developed it, Kundalini. I'm not very drawn to Kundalini yoga. It's more white Tantra, but also there's a lot more Kriya, a lot more like, harsh movement, which I don't
Very
like. I like,
aggressive, you moving, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it was like
yeah,
harder,
Tantra.
faster, more, you know what I mean? Like it was like, and that didn't feel right to me. And like the amount of discipline that comes with Kundalini Yoga, like it's like every day, 40 minutes, 40 days, chant the same thing. Like that just didn't resonate for me after a while. Like I tried, yeah.
Yeah, I like Tantra because it feels more natural. Like when you do chants, a lot of times with Tantra, it's more like, you're not like chanting a bunch of like words that mean anything. You're really just getting into the body more. It's about Tantra. The word Tantra comes from the Sanskrit word to expand or to liberate,
Right.
right? And so we're expanding our energy, we're expanding our consciousness, and we're liberating ourselves from our physical level of being. So we're taking our five senses to a higher level,
Yeah.
right? It's about
Totally.
what we call enlightenment or awakening. And so we're opening the energy system and we're moving the energy system to a point where we go into what we call bliss states. Or I mean, really what it is you should start feeling like compassion overflowing in your body, like where you feel more compassion. All of a sudden, you just feel like this amazing feelings and just so much love for just everything and everyone and understanding and stuff. So that is ultimately where you get when you do enough tantric yoga.
Yeah, you're like
And it's a
plugging
very,
in to something galactic in nature. Like sometimes I'm
want to
like,
go
wow,
home
I
and
am in
like
like a
start
whole
doing this
nother
now.
realm,
Yeah.
you know, like I am not even in my, I mean, I'm in my body, but I'm out of my body. Like it's just like this whole like, uh, just a full body is a full experience, you know. I love that about it. And it's so, just the whole part of like, just experimenting with like different things, like how does my body feel today, like what kind of things do I want to tap into, or and just like letting it organically unfold, or like putting some music on that is tribal, or you know, different types of music, and how that makes me feel. Like when we were together, I love the ooh ah om, you know, like going up through the chakras, like using the vowels, like, right, it's like basically.
yeah,
Yeah, did you
yeah,
want to
yeah.
expand on that a little bit? I mean, that was just like really powerful when we did that. I mean, I've used mantra before to activate the chakras and draw the energy up and then bring it back down and up and down, but it was like a different kind of chanting. And then this one that we did was just really, it was really easy to open for me, you know,
Mhm.
because it feels so
Yeah.
natural, the sounds that we're making, you know?
Yeah, you're corresponding a certain sound with an area of the body and the consciousness. And so, for instance, when you go like a h, you could say what you're doing is what we're saying. You're opening the heart area, the chest, right? And so you can even like go back and put your arms back and like open up that chest area and go and so you're opening.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing like and the, and different traditions are going to have a little bit different in terms of like, oh well, E is up here, no, E is here, and people will, oh it's, and it's so funny on my YouTube whenever I have taught stuff and then people will come in, oh it's like this, and it's like, no, it's not like anything, okay. Like chill out, you can really correspond any sound to any area of the body. And the one that I learned traditionally was the E comes through the throat, okay. So if you go so it's more down right here,
Mm.
all through this area you're kind of opening. And if you're doing like ooh, that's more lower chakra. So
Right,
it's
right.
like ooh, ooh, and then
Ooh.
oh is like the solar plexus. Right. So really we're just corresponding sound to areas of the body, and whatever feels natural for you is really what matters. But what we were doing, I think you're referring to the Kundalini awakening that we were doing, the sexual awakening,
Mm-hmm.
right? The transmutation of the sexual energy. And the transmutation of the sexual energy is where you inhale through the mouth, right? And when you inhale through the mouth, you place your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And so you're inhaling. And when you do that, you're imagining that this energy is going up the spine. And what you do is it's almost like a kegel,
Yeah.
right? Where you squeeze the pelvic floor up, and then you pull the energy up, and you imagine it's going up as you're inhaling through the mouth, right? And you're pulling. And then once you get to the top, right, you're going to slowly relax the body down as you chant down through the chakra areas. So you're going right, a and
Yeah.
you keep doing that. It's like slow kegels of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
exhaling and chanting back down, and like you're moving that sexual energy at the base of the spine. We have so much energy down there, and that helps us to really get into the body when we're messing with that energy. That energy is a very high vibration. So if you want to like manifest something, or you want to do something, and you need to use some energy,
Yeah.
that's the energy you want to work with, and
Yeah,
if you have an
absolutely.
orgasm, that energy's gone,
Mhm.
right? So you have to build it back up again.
Yeah.
Right? So we were building the energy, and when you
Yeah, that was
build and you use
amazing.
it in your body, yeah, it clears the body of the emotions and stuff.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah, you were ready to roll when you got back
I mean,
from that
I was,
retreat.
yeah, I definitely, a lot of things clicked for me. I mean, during that week together, I mean, for sure, and then I was able to kind of bring that back and then start to ground into some of these things. And it just, I mean, I'm on this kind of path anyway, Pisces path. So, I mean, it really just connected a lot of dots for me. And I loved the practices, and it just made me feel more confident in my own personal practices, in my own journey of like discovery of like
Yeah.
what feels right for me as an energetic practice, because and as a practitioner, right, as a healer too, as using sound and facilitating these kind of discussions with other people and leading people through energetic work of their own. Like, this was just like brought it to a whole nother level, for me, because so there's 3 types of tantra. So you mentioned the white tantra, and I've done white tantra. I mean, with Kundalini yoga, it's like a practice where you're gazing, and you maybe are using mudras and some other movements, but it's mostly chanting and like eye gazing, like with a partner for like hours. Like that's kind of like what white tantra is for in Kundalini.
White
But
tantra is really just solo work usually.
right.
It's not
Oh,
usually
okay.
with another person.
Yeah.
So white tantra is purely like a kundalini kind of work, where you're just really in union with your high self, or what you could say God.
Yeah.
That's white.
Okay.
Yeah. And then red is sexual tantra, more like moving the energy with another person and
Right.
having like sex,
Yeah.
and enhancing orgasms and stuff, and really partner work. And then pink is like a combination. It's what Osho taught in
Hmm.
his Ipsalu work and stuff. So if you were interested in those kind of things, Ipsalu is a pink tantric yoga system.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, so that was cool that you explained that too. I mean, people see Tantra, they don't really know what to expect. I mean, there's maybe some misconceptions, some myths about like what it is, and like how, that you incorporate that into your relationship or with your partner or privately, I mean, I've had a pretty healthy relationship with my personal practices for a long time, but like it made like everything kind of lined up for me when I was like, okay, well, this can be used for clearing energy, or, even just moving some of the energy around. Like if I can feel like in my body, if I do the body scan, in the morning, and like I can feel like a tightness like in this part of my body, I mean, it's easier for me to move it around and like release it and get rid of it. I don't have a lot of like long-term tension, because of some of these practices. So it was really
Yeah,
interesting.
you
Yeah.
never complain.
I don't really have a
I
lot of
complain
pain.
every day.
No, only over like when I work out, but that's like
Yeah, that's
natural,
normal.
it's kind of normal. Like I miss,
Yeah.
my recovery is very quick, like I'll work out and I'll be like super sore, but then I'll do like a little, energy work, tantra, qigong,
Yeah,
whatever.
it really does
And it
move
just,
it.
yeah, it's like my recovery is a lot quicker. So that's something too, I think people don't really like combining it with maybe other practices. It doesn't have to be like your only practice,
Yeah.
obviously. I'm not like hanging out all day
Doing time.
doing sex magic, but sometimes. All right, anyway, so
You made Z laugh.
I know, well, that's all right. He likes listening to all of our conversations here. He learns a lot
Hanging
from
out with the
us.
girls.
Yeah. All right. So the misconceptions, let's talk about that. Like, can you just, are there some things that you want to like just point out? I know I had a couple of things that I wrote down, like, um, it's not just physical, right? Like, I mean, it's not just about the physical pleasure of like having sex, it's like about the energy, the connection, like spiritual
Mhm.
practices, like, that intentional thing. And then I also read about, like some people think you have to create like all this ritual around it, right? Like it's like this kinky, freaky thing where you got to like light candles, which isn't bad, right? You could totally do that. I
Right.
mean, honestly, it can be a full blown ritual if you want it to be, but obviously having that open communication with your partner about like what's good, what's in, what's out, but that there can be kind of spontaneity around it too. Like if that's like your intention, like it doesn't have to be like I'm setting aside Wednesday night for sex magic time. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. With a cape and a hat on and one rabbit.
yeah. So anyway, so
Poor Phil.
myths, not the vibrating rabbit. No,
my
vibrators.
God.
You don't even need vibrators anymore. You can
No.
have the non-touch
Oh, they're
orgasm,
so
like the NTO, like the no-touch orgasm, right? That's a thing?
Yeah.
I tried
Yeah,
that
some
today. I fell
people.
asleep.
You
Oh
tried
yeah.
it today? Where? Oh, couldn't even masturbate today.
No.
Oh, damn it! Fucking Mercury.
A nap. Sound like a guy.
Okay, so back on track, Dina.
Yeah.
Okay. So the demystify sex. Let's go into sex magic. Like, what kind of things, do you see people think that sex magic is? But what is it really?
It's just law of attraction work. Doing it the right way, right?
Right.
Too many people, when they think law of attraction, they think, oh, I have to think this way. I have to use my mind. But that's where you go wrong. It's about you got to use your energy too. And you also have to clear the mind, right? And you have to let go of things. And so sex magic, it helps you to do those things in a lot faster, easier way.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a couple of ways there's a few ways you can do sex magic, but sex magic is really just using intention with your sexual energy and letting go of the result. And so one easy way to do it that traditionally chaos magicians usually use is they will just take a piece of paper, right? Like you could take a Post-it note and you could write down a little sentence of something like, I attract deep, passionate love. Write that down, take out the vowels, right? Then take all of the consonants and just put them into one picture. However you want to do it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You
We
put
did
it
that
away.
at a full moon event, right?
Yeah, we did sigils. So we've done them before. Like, and I mean, obviously we did the sigils together at the event or when, at our retreat, but we did them too. But they're really fun to make. It's so artistic and creative to like come up with your
Yeah.
little like, it's very easy to do. So, I mean, you could probably Google how to make one.
Yeah, and I mean, traditionally, you would use all kinds of things like silk and put it in a box and do all this stuff. And my first one, I did that, and it worked really well,
I
really
love
quick.
doing that. Like what crystal is
Yeah.
being called to kind of sit with it for a few days, maybe charge up your crystal and then set it on the, leave it with the sigil or.
So the reason you put it away is to forget it,
Right.
right? So you don't want to be focused on it.
Right.
So once you create the sigil, you put it away and you forget about it. You can't think about it anymore. You have to trust. That's a big issue, right?
Yeah.
Trust. And the more you desire something, the less it's going to work or happen for you because your desire says to your energy, I don't have this, right? So you put it all into the sigil that this is what you want. And then you put it away and you forget it. It's called amnesia, right?
Yeah.
You create amnesia. And then you come back, you write down on your calendar when I'm going to do this ritual. And all the ritual is you go grab that sigil and you come to orgasm however you want, right? With a partner, by yourself, doesn't matter. And when you do come to orgasm, you just either look directly at the sigil or you can just remember it because now maybe you stared at it for a few moments before.
Right.
Right. And so you only, as you orgasm, you only focus on that sigil. No thoughts, no ideas, no intention, no nothing, just the sigil itself.
Yeah.
And so that imprints right into the consciousness. And then you just let it go. After you do that, you're done. You don't think about it. You don't desire it, nothing. And then it's supposed to happen for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's sex magic.
Yeah. Sex magic in a nutshell.
Fun.
Yeah.
It is.
We could do that Saturday.
All right, what else
Another
questions
way-
do I have here? Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, so sex magic. Okay, but it's also empowering too, like for women, right? I mean, like I think a lot of women, like I maybe could relate to like not really knowing their bodies and like, getting to know like their own personal preferences and like, I mean, we talk about like a lot about womb health and like, just knowing like your cycles. Like, so like when you're in your summer, right? Like if you're going with the phases of the moon, like when you bleed and when you ovulate and things like that, like, is there like, maybe how are you feeling? You might want different types of touch or different types of like, things like that, during different times of the month as well too. And just like tapping into those energies, like the subtle energies, like just like laying with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we go through, as females go through the moon cycle and men go through the sun cycle. And I think we had talked about that at the retreat a little bit,
Yeah, we
right?
did.
So the moon cycle is the 28-day cycle that we go through. So our moods, our consciousness, what we need, what we want, how we feel, everything, our bodies, we go through this 28-day cycle with the moon. And that's the feminine, right? And then the sun is the masculine. And that's what the men go through is the daily cycle, the 24-hour cycle. And so they have those same fluctuations and everything within one day. And in this world, we run on a 24-hour cycle, right? We work, we get up in the morning, we have the same, we do this, we do that. And women don't do that as well as men because women are running on a 28-day cycle.
Right.
And so for a week, a few days you're feeling like this, for a few days you're doing that. You're more detail oriented, during your menstrual cycle. Whereas men, they go through that cycle within a day. Now, that's theory I've been taught. I don't know how true it is. It sounds good, but it makes a little bit of sense to me because I know that I am more detail oriented during certain points. I'm more idea oriented in other parts of my cycle. Whereas they say that, men were going through this like daily, you got to get up, you got to go to work, you got to do this, you got to do that. And a very masculine kind of energy in our society and our culture.
Do you think that also, I mean, not to dive too far into astrology, but because I mean, no, we didn't plan to do that, but like, do you think also like when the moon is transiting, like say your house, your Virgo house or like through your, in your natal chart, like, is that maybe a time when you would be more like detail oriented or like when you're, when the chart is in like Cancer, you're more
Yeah.
watery, you need more nurturing, softness or whatever. So, I mean, that's another way I kind
Mhm.
of look at it too is like the house that it's in or what, the phases of the moon. And like last week I talked about how the aspects of the moon, like, so in your natal chart, like the moon aspects all of your planets the same way every month, right? Basically, but at a different time. Like every month it makes the same aspects to your natal chart, which I thought was like really interesting because like,
Yeah.
like it because it comes around every 28 days. So tapping into that kind of energy too is like interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it does do that, and every new moon cycle is going to be very different. And then, so for instance, you'll have the new moon, you know, 1 month in like Sagittarius, and then you'll have the full moon in Sagittarius 6 months later,
Right.
right? So
Right.
that 6 months is another cycle you go through, right? That new moon hits your chart somewhere very particular, and then it comes to fruition 6 months later, right? So you
Right.
have these moon cycles that are very personal, but also they're also for the collective as well. Because, for instance, if the moon's in Virgo, everybody's feeling that moon in Virgo kind of energy that day. Or if the sun's in Virgo, everybody feels that for the month,
Right.
right? We'll feel that energy of like, okay, now it's time to do some more like organizing and getting more serious cleaning up. Leo, right? Energy during the summer, everybody's like having barbecues and partying together.
Right. Yeah, and like what
Mhm.
house it's going through too, like what house is transiting,
Yeah.
like where it's happening, like the stage that is it your
Mhm.
family, is it your career, is it your
Yeah.
community, is it your spiritual life or whatever. So, I mean, I could go on and
And it
on
hits
about
you
it. We'll probably have to have you back on for an astrology
I know.
chat,
Yeah, that would be fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people wanted to start to incorporate, sex magic or tantra like into their personal practices, like and just bringing mindfulness and like pleasure together, right? Even if they're in a committed relationship, if they're not in a committed relationship, like what would somebody, how would they want to get started with that?
With Tantra?
Yeah.
Well, I have a tantric course on, on my website.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, Dina's interested.
Yeah. It's a basics. So I go through like the breath work and the chants, which are, in the transmutation of the sexual energy. And then I have like a, so I have lessons on each one on how to do it. And then at the end of it, I have like a 15-minute session where you get to do it. You can use that every day if you want to do it with me. So it's just like my basic 15-minute routine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I got this book too. You had mentioned this book when I was there, but it's The Jewel in the Lotus,
Yeah.
the Tantric Pathway to Higher Consciousness. So I have this one too.
Yeah.
So I started reading that one. And it's got some nice visuals. It looks like the 1980s, but it's all
It
good.
is. It's an older book.
They're like a bush.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, no, this is really great. This is a really good book to start with. I mean, some of the Palladian, like light work books that I was reading, it's so closely related to the Tantra, and for, a lot of the same things, like that is similar in nature too. So that was
Well, that's
really cool.
because it's all coming from Tantra. That's the thing. That's why I started practicing Tantra, because I realized that all this stuff that we're doing, all of this occult stuff, is coming from Tantra. Because Tantra is the old system. And Ipsalu was Osho's, is a branch of Osho's teachings. And Ipsalu they are based in, I think, California. I went to a certification here in Fort Lauderdale. There's a Nyana, I think her name is. She was my teacher. She teaches around the world a bit.
Okay, yeah.
She's really good. Yeah.
Okay, what else? So like, what did you have any questions, Dina, for
Me?
Brandy?
Oh, she's been answering them.
Yeah?
No, I'm excited to do this. I just feel like, I don't know. I'm just been drained and, not powerful. So, yeah, I need something new. It's nice to
Try something different.
try
out.
different things. I'll do some things for a while. Then it's like, all right. And then I see something else that I want to try. So, yeah, this is speaking to me right now for sure. So that's
Sounds like we all
exciting.
have a bunch of fire and air in our charts. I'm like that too. Yeah.
So you do,
So
okay, so I just want to go through some of the other practices that you do too, just to let people know, like if they want to reach out to you, so you did past life regression with us during the retreat as well. So you are a trained hypnotist, right? As well. So do you want to just elaborate a little bit on like that as a potential spiritual practice? I mean, Dina just
that's
had a past life
they're
regression
amazing.
event, or that she went and did one with a practitioner. I know we did it in a group setting, but I mean, I had a really profound experience. And I mean, just witnessing the experiences in the room, like literal catharsis, like releases from people about their personal, like some trauma that they experienced in a past life, being able to like move through that energy. So, I mean, if you don't mind, I'd love to just touch on that briefly. And then maybe if people wanted, they could reach out to you. I know you do sessions virtually too.
yeah, I haven't been doing those in a while now. I'm trying to focus more on astrology and tantra and stuff. But I was trained by Dr. Ron DeBosto here he was in Winter Park, Florida, and he teaches depossession work. He teaches like how to get rid of attachments, energy attachments, entity attachments.
Yeah.
So he hypnotizes people that have issues that are unresolved that they can't resolve. And so psychiatrists and stuff will send people to him when they have trouble resolving issues through talk therapy. And he will hypnotize them, and he takes you through regression work, but he also does the depossession work as well, which is pretty wild work. I stick to the past life regressions. I don't get into depossessing people. I know quite a few people that do depossession. So if anybody needs any, I know like 4. So just let me know what you need. One does remote, the other one does like physical, like pulling out, and the other one does the hypnosis. But it does work, and it's amazing. So the regression work, though, I was trained by him, so I have a very particular process and particular techniques that I've learned. and they're very effective. It
So
really, they
effective. Like
just,
I didn't even think I would be able. I honestly, I mean, there was probably not many things that I was skeptical about because I'm very like open. But that was one of the things that I was like, nah, I'm not. She's not gonna. I'm not gonna really go into I'm not gonna get hypnotized.
Yeah,
But
you'd
I
be
did.
surprised.
Yeah, I did, and it was so lovely. I mean, the way you did it was just beautiful. It was like your voice was so just mesmerizing, and it just brought me to a completely different state of mind. Like I just didn't know that I would be able to experience that. So that was just my
aw,
experience. Yeah.
thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've been doing the group regressions for a long time, about 15 to 20 years. I've been leading group regressions. That's like mostly what I do. I used to do a lot of Zoom ones where I would get on Zoom and regress people, and those work just as well too. But the group regressions are always interesting. A lot of people are usually hesitant to share. Some people go through some very emotional experiences and then they're freaked out because they're in a groups too. But overall, I've had really good experiences with the group regressions.
Yeah, the group regression too. Well, you waited a couple days until we were kind of already connected. You know, like we had made some. Obviously, we were releasing lots of energy, and you're in the room with these people. So, like, once that a couple days went by, I think it was like the perfect time to do the regression because we were obviously very open to sharing and having
Mhm.
whatever necessary experiences we needed to have, like in the safety net of that. So I mean, obviously like going on a retreat and immersion kind of things like that. And you know what too, like we had some outside noise, right? Like we had some noises that happened, and I was like able to sink right back in because you give these like what did you call them, like so like
Oh,
they were like
oh, I can't think the word either right now, but where I prompt you at the beginning after I hypnotize you that anything you hear will make you go deeper. Yeah,
yeah, and it did too. It
yeah,
was really
That's
cool.
neat.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Suggestions. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, with the group regression work, it can be really effective, but it can be difficult too because you're not sure what people are experiencing and you can't really know if you need to deepen people more. Um, but anyways, I really like it because it ties in so well with astrology or the evolutionary
Oh, so
astrology,
much.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a really good book by Patricia. Oh, what was her last name? Um, I can't remember her last name. She's a great astrologer. She's an evolutionary astrologer. She wrote a book on it. She takes people into past lives and then she looks at their chart and she does like this analysis. It's really cool.
Oh, that's really
Her
cool.
book, yeah.
Yeah.
Karmic Complexes is what it's called, I believe. Karmic Complexes by Patricia. Can't remember her last name. But anyway, she also teaches like somatic work. She teaches regression work with somatic work, where she gets you on the floor and she like uses your body to take you into regressions and everything. I was wanting to get trained by her at some point, and then I decided, no, I don't think I want to do that. Um, it's a lot of deep, deep work when you do regressions like that under
Yeah.
hypnosis, and when you're hypnotizing people all day, you're hypnotized all day,
Right. I mean,
and
I experienced that with
it's
the gong, even. I'm like playing the gong all day. I'm like, I got to ground before I try to go to my son's basketball game. I'm like, whoa, I'm like out there, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, as healers and energy workers, you have to have that like protective barrier too, and like have your own practices
Absolutely.
and clearings and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. What do you do for self care after you've been working with a lot of energy?
well, I do a lot of I do banishing rituals and tantra, and so that is what it does is it clears and expands your aura. And I used to pick up stuff from people a long time ago when I was a massage therapist and I did Reiki and all that stuff. But once I started learning magic and the tantric work, I stopped picking up things from people. My friend Teresa, she is a remote depossession worker. She always asks me, she's always like, "How do you not pick up things from all these people?" She says, "Every time I look at you, you're clear." And she asked me, "Why is that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's because I'm doing banishing and tantra. And banishing and tantra both clear your energy constantly. So it's kind of nice to have those tools in place where I'm constantly clearing and making sure there's no energies coming in."
yeah. So with the banishing, like, is that like what is the practice for that?
Well, I do what's called the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram. And I was the first YouTuber to do a banishing ritual, do an actual magical ritual on YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, a long time ago, and it was always a big no-no to do that. Like, you weren't supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do your spiritual work in front of people, right? Back then, especially, it was very like, oh my God, are you crazy? And I did it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show everybody how to do it because it works. And so I did. And now you see all these people doing it on YouTube. It's very funny, but mine's usually one of the top ones because it's the oldest.
Okay, I'm gonna
If you
look it
go,
up and I'll
Yeah.
share it in the group for sure.
We could go live and do the banishing
Yeah,
ritual.
that would be awesome. Okay, well, we're gonna look that
yeah.
up for sure. Okay,
Well, I
cool.
have two of them on there. I have three actually. I have a really old one. I don't recommend that one because like it's grainy.
Yeah,
The second one where I redid it, I did it in a studio. And
yeah.
then I also have one on where I explain it. So I broke it up a little bit to where I explain it in one and then I do it in the other. So
Okay.
that way, and I have different rituals on there too.
Yeah, I mean, we're
So
going to share all of this information with our listeners too. So I'll just get with you on the ones that are probably the best ones to share with our group and give them some more additional
Fun.
information. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, what
Have some
else?
quality time planned with this
Yeah.
upcoming week.
Yeah.
My birthday, so
Yeah, birthday Sagittarius. End of the chart too. I mean, you're at like the last degree is 27. Almost 20. I think you're at 27 and a half. So I think you're actually at 28.
you know more than I do.
I do. I check
know
her
my
chart all the time.
yeah.
I check her chart all the time. You and other
So
people.
funny.
Yeah. If you give me your birthday, I might look at your chart a little more than you might know. No, I'm just kidding. Before we
Studying
hang
everybody.
out. Yeah. I should have pulled
That's
yours
yeah,
out
how
though.
you do it.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it's really
important when you're
interesting
learning.
though, to be able to understand. I mean, we have a couple more minutes. So like let's just dive into a little bit of the astrology if you don't mind, because I mean it's near and dear to my heart and it's like really opening a lot of pathways that I didn't even really knew existed, like in my mental, like spiritual, like connectivity. And as you know, like I'm having a lot of Pisces transits right now. So with my moon in Pisces and Saturn has been sitting there for a while. It's like literally on my moon forever. And then Neptune's sitting on my Mercury, also in Pisces. So, I'm looking at
Wow.
like really kind of this realm of like confusion, a lot of like unknowns, disillusionment is like happening like all around me. But so I mean we can just, I mean if you want to, like you offer astrology readings, right? Like regular readings. And so like do you want to just talk about like what you like to, I mean you do evolutionary astrology too, right? That's what you
Yeah,
kind of
mine
you use.
primarily, yeah, I'm an evolutionary astrologer. Yeah, so I focus, I have a couple of different reading types. I do an evolutionary reading where I focus on like your soul purpose and like, and any questions you have, the natal reading, right?
Yeah.
And then I also, I like to do ones that are focused on relationships, you know, so those are always fun.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's so eye-opening to me. Like when I start looking, and then I started pulling my asteroids in too, and like looking at like, Psyche and this one and that thing, and then I'm realizing like, wow, there's like so much here. And then when I look at my husband's chart, I'm like, this makes so much sense. Like why we've been able to stay hot for 20 years, and then also like why he triggers me, like where are these karmic patterns that are kind of coming up for us, like why, he's got, like we were talking about the Capricorn energy, right? So Mercury gestation retrograde, it goes direct on January 1st. Great day to come to our event too, by the way, because, the momentum is going to start picking up, in January. But just knowing that I have I don't have a lot of Capricorn. I mean, we always say like you have every astrology sign in your chart because you have a house. I have a Capricorn house, which you said was my seventh house, actually, right? Based on my
Mhm.
Cancer rising. So it's
So you project
relationships.
Capricorn onto everybody else.
Yeah, right. I
You're like,
project Capricorn
I'm
onto
not
everybody else.
Capricorn. Everybody else is Capricorn.
Yeah, right. And you were talking to me
You're welcome.
beforehand too. You needed it. You needed like an outline and stuff. You're like, I need some little more structure, today or whatever. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
I'm
great to
very.
know about your, yeah.
Yeah. I married two cancers. That didn't work out so well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a Sag. So what's an ideal sign for me?
So here's the thing. Any of them, right? And it depends. also on a lot of things in your chart. So it depends on your seventh house, your Venus, your Mars, your moon. Also, it depends on the person. It depends. I mean, really, you can date anyone. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're gonna, in certain ways, have a smoother understanding of each other if you have certain aspects or certain signs that are prevalent. Um, and you can see a lot about your partner in your chart. So, for instance, your ideal partner would be very much your seventh house. Now, it doesn't mean it's their sign, it just means that they have certain qualities that are in that seventh house. Or we can look at your Venus and we can say, oh, you're really attracted to people that are like this, right? But it doesn't mean they're a certain sign. So we have to be careful not to say, like, oh my God, like Aries are so bad for me. We have to be
Aries
careful
are
because
great
each,
for me.
yeah, because, well, everybody's unique and everybody has every sign within them. And when people start getting a little too almost stereotypical and a little too limited, like I know some very big astrologers, they will not even look at somebody's chart that they're dating because they don't want that to get into in the way of them building a connection with someone and them going, oh, you know what, they have this Mars, I don't think that's gonna, and then you start getting this bias. You want to be careful of that. And so for me, I date people and I go, okay, astrologically, if you look at that, I mean, I really shouldn't be dating this person. But for me, I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen?
Right. Oh, I'm a
Let's
Sag,
give it
so
a
I always do the wrong thing. I always do
But
the
that's
bad
not
thing.
true. That's not true. It's not true. We all do the wrong things. And that's the fun of life is experiencing it and seeing what happens. So my last boyfriend was a Sag, and I'm a Cancer. And I mean, traditionally, if you look at that, it's like, ooh, water and fire. But if you look at the decans that we were in, they were a match.
Yeah.
So the decans are like first part of Sag and first part of Cancer, and then you have the moon. Like we were very compatible with our Venus and our Mars and our seventh house. And then
Yeah.
if you look at our composite chart with like super like good,
Yeah.
so the thing is there's so much more to it than just your sun sign. And then on top of it, even if you have something that you're like, that doesn't, they traditionally don't say those two signs go well. But the thing is, it's like, how mature are you?
Right.
That's what
Right.
it comes down to. Are
Oh,
you
that's great
evolved in
advice.
that? Yeah, in that archetype, like as a Sagittarius archetype, are you evolved in that you can handle yourself in a relationship with, say, a Cancer that is a lot of, I don't like sun style. To me, sun stuff doesn't tell you much about a relationship.
Yeah,
It's
I agree with
it's what
that.
you're supposed to become.
Yeah.
A lot of
The
people
Venus,
don't know what
Mars.
time they were born either, if they're older than us. So it's like you
Yeah.
can't really get a good
Yeah,
read
but
on where they're at.
well, yeah, you can, because you don't need it in terms of the only reason you need that is to pull the chart for the rising sign and to know the placements of the house system,
Yeah.
Right.
right? But if you want to know what somebody's moon, Venus,
Oh,
Mars
yeah.
is, to see like how they are archetypally, all you have to do is just know their birthday. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a
So if you
conversation
know,
starter too. It's like a way to just like kind of chat about like, you know,
mhm,
things that come up in a relationship, and I can kind of be more supportive too if I know there's certain transits that are happening amongst us, or I can kind of lean in if I need to or ease up in other ways. And then I know what's going on for me. And I know that everything's just temporary. I mean, that's the cool thing about that astrology brought to my life was like the impermanence of the phases of everything always changing and the movement of the planets and, the different aspects that are being made to the planets and, just all those different types of things. So, I mean, so you have some astrology videos out there too, don't you, on your website or,
mhm,
okay, that people can watch?
yeah. Yeah,
Great.
on YouTube, I have videos on. I have lessons as well and stuff. I have like courses. Yeah,
Okay. Awesome.
I'm putting together a course for this coming year on relationships of astrology,
Okay.
and I want to get more into putting that out there because I really feel like we need more of that.
I think
And
so
I feel like a
too.
lot of people are starting to get into astrology, and you're starting to see all of these like younger people putting stuff up, people that are not just younger, but like just newer to astrology. And they're saying, oh, you know, you're like this if you're this. And it's like, yeah, but
There's a lot more